Knowledge Database, Textile Companies, GDDP, GSDP, GDP, GNH 2030, Agriculture Sector, Industry Sector, Cultural Heritage, Services Sector, Fiscal and Ethical Co-Responsibility Framework, Troikov Entanglement, Subject, Object, Self, SOS Governance, CorporateMOM, Corporate Management Orbit Mission. Copyright, CorporateMOM, Corporate Management Orbit Mission.
I'm giving here some of the information that I have extracted from ibef.org. It's a very good website having quite a good number of statistics. This is about textiles and apparel industry. The market size, it says. The market for the Indian textile and apparel is projected to grow at a 10% CAGR to reach US $350 billion by 2030. Competitive advantage. India enjoys a comparative advantage in terms of skilled manpower and in cost of production relative to major textile producers. Key facts. The textiles and apparel industry contributes 2.3% to the country's GDP, 13% to industrial production, and 12% to exports. The textile industry in India is predicted to double its contribution to the GDP, rising from 2.3% to approximately 5% by the end of this decade. A global apparel market. The global apparel market is expected to grow at a CAGR of around 8% to reach US 2.37 trillion by 2030. And the global textile and apparel trade is expected to grow at a CAGR of 4% to reach US $1.2 trillion by 2030. Technical textile market. The Indian technical textile market has a huge potential of a 10% growth rate, increased penetration level of 9 to 10%, and is the fifth largest technical textiles market in the world. India composites market. The Indian composites market is expected to reach an estimated value of US $1.9 billion by 2026, with a CAGR of 16.3% from 2021 to 2026. And the Indian consumption of composite materials will touch 768,200 tons in 2027. Going further on the cotton king. India is the world's largest producer of cotton. In the first advances, the Agriculture Ministry projected cotton output for 2023-24 at 31.6 million bales. According to the Cotton Association of India, CAI, the total availability of cotton in the 2023-24 season has been pegged at 34.6 million bales against 31.1 million bales of domestic demand, including 28 million bales for mills, 1.5 million for small-scale industries, and 1.6 million bales for non-mills. Cotton production in India is projected to reach 7.2 million tons, 43 million bales of 170 kg each. By 2030, driven by increasing demand from consumers, it is expected to surpass US $30 billion by 2027, with an estimated 4.6 to 4.9 share globally. Market size, fiber. In 2022-23, the production of fiber in India stood at 2.15 million tons, while for yarn, the production stood at 5,185 million kgs during the same period. Natural fibers are regarded as the backbone of the Indian textile industry, which is expected to grow from US $138 billion to US $195 billion by 2025. Silk. India is also the second largest producer of silk in the world, and 95% of the world's hand-woven fabric comes from India. Employment, this particular one is from drishtiyas.com. Silk. Employment. India's textiles industry has around 4.5 crore employed workers, including 35.22 lakhs handloom workers across the country. Coming to the exports, India's textile and apparel exports, including handicrafts, stood at US $28.72 billion in financial year 24, April to January 2024. Exports for 247 technical textile items stood at 5,946 crore, approximately US $715.48 million between April to June 2023-24. Moreover, India is the world's third largest exporter of textiles and apparel. India ranks among the top 5 global exporters in several textile categories, with exports expected to reach $100 billion. Give the summary of what we have had a look at. Market 2030 is $165 billion to $350 billion in 2030. Market percentage of GDP 2030, 2.3% to 5%, according to what IBF has indicated. A global apparel market 2030 US $2.37 trillion. Global textile and apparel trade 2030 is $1.2 trillion. Composites 2027 768 200 tons. Cotton 2030 31.6 to 43 million bales. Fiber 2025 US dollar 138 billion to US dollar 195 billion. We have seen market 2030 from the current level of 165 billion US dollars going to 350 billion US dollars in 2030. As well as the global apparel market 2030 is going to be what 2.37 trillion US dollars. This is very important, particularly for what we are today and what we are going to move towards 2030. Moving toward 2030, we have about 45 million people who are working in the industry. But it's a few. That's what this page tells you. Top textile companies. These are the lead indicators as to whether they can reach that 350. There are two things that come to my mind. One is the capability. Number two, tracking the $350 billion going from $165 billion today. Who are the people who are going to do that? In my analytics of GDP, GNH, GDDP, the collection of information, I've written a major article on that, on statistics that we prepare, is in terms of GDP, in terms of how we collate the information, how delayed they are when they come to the state level is nearly about 3 years old. After all, the central level, you are collecting all that information from various states. Minimum 3 years it takes for each state. And they have the latest estimate, the quick estimate, and so many things, yet is far away from the current picture. So that sort of a thing when we come to that, and it has been, that is what we are given to IMF or OECD, all that sort of thing. The things are not accurate. So when we arrive at $350 billion as US dollars for textile market, who does it? How it is being arrived at? Is it possible to, as we do as a $5 trillion when we talk of the Indian economy in 2030, it is all, it's a figure which is being given as previously we had Niti Ayog. They collect the information and give the estimate for the future. It has not worked. The statistics that we are talking about has no relevance as to when the actual comes. The actual comes after about 2 years. That's a major problem. So my intention of bringing the data analytics is in terms of right from the bottommost. When I say is a GDDP, district domestic product, then state domestic product, then GDP comes. When it comes to the GDDP, there are about 806 districts in India. We got to really look at which district is affected in terms of for producing the necessary GDP, adding to the GDP. If you look only the focus on the textile market, the $350 billion US dollars have to come from the companies. That goes one below the particular GDDP. Not only the district, a district may have a pharmaceutical, a district may not have a textile, maybe about 10 or 15 districts. But what we are trying to do is to collect the information, statistics from bottom to the top. So one that comes from the bottommost are the companies. In this organized sector, what we show in this particular page, top textile companies, they are the lead indicators who are going to make it happen, the $350 billion. If they are the ones who are going to make it happen, let us start with them. And that is my intention. What problems that they have, whether they are capable of doing it. And when Reliance Textiles started, is nowhere now. It is being sold, and some other companies, some other product is being manufactured by Reliance, no longer in textiles. That sort of a thing will it come. As to the Raymond, Grasim Industries, Fab India, Lakshmi Mills, they are all there in Bombay Dyeing. They are all there in the textile market. Will there be in 2030? So the answer comes from the companies. The companies have to necessarily bring about their 2030 strategic plan in terms of how much they do participate in touching the $350 billion. If $165 billion today to $350 billion tomorrow in 2030, we got to arrive at the CAGR. The CAGR could be about 10% according to what EF says. That is not enough. The one who are going to contribute or touch upon, make it happen is $350 billion are these companies, which I have given big ones as well as what I see from district, Coimbatore, about 18 I have indicated here. These are the companies have to put the benchmark. I am going to get my portion today is about 1%. And tomorrow to reach the $350 billion, I'm going to make it 1.5%. That 1.5% for each additional incremental revenue that comes to reach the 350, we start with known organized sector of top textile companies. So my suggestion, the challenges that are faced by the textile, which I'm giving to the next page, the most important thing is the starting point or these companies, how they are going to do the planning part of it, what is their going to be the contribution, how we are going to track it, whether they are in a position to get going with the from 165 to $350 billion. That is the intention of showing this particular page. I'll come to the challenges which is coming in the next page. Here I present the textile industry, textiles and apparel. This particular industry contributes 2.3% to India's GDP, employs over 45 million people, contributes 12% to India's export earnings. This is where I stay here in near Coimbatore. I had the opportunity of talking to a software specialist, good in ERP, and we had done a lot of good work on creating software for cost reduction. When we say cost reduction, particularly in this particular industry, is significant. Almost every mill owner, every mill that you come across would be keep calculating the cost. So it has been so for several decades. Here, what I want to talk about is in all the four areas. There is cotton, then spinning, then weaving, then apparel. So the government section is very huge, no doubt. Very competitive. Tirupur is the place where everything is there. When in each value addition, the cost is a significant factor. One that goes from cotton to spinning, spinning to weaving, the cost addition, it is a matter of great concern with every company. In this case, as an example, is a good example. It's the same thing everywhere. Every manufacturing company has this major problem. I'll tell you why. Here, in the what we call the variable costs. The variable cost is mainly the raw materials input and the power sector, power, etc., electricity, power, and whatnot. The variable cost, we say variable because this comes from a supplier and depends upon the number of units that you produce. The cost varies. It's as simple as that. But variable cost is not, this is one which we normally use for the marginal cost principle. Then contribution part of it is being done. As to the fixed cost, unless you have a minimum variable cost turnover, sales turnover, you won't be able to cover the fixed costs. That is where the problem arises. That is the fixed cost. The employee cost is one. Employee cost is not only in this thing, and everywhere where there's an employee this thing, which I have seen even a company like in soil and labor. The cost to revenue of employee cost, it doesn't go variable. Meaning, if you have the cost addition for one unit, incremental cost is more than the incremental revenue. This is very strange for me because the employee cost mainly for whatever the pricing that you do for employees. The significant factor in terms of bringing out the better margin, the contribution margin, lies with the employee. That is what I'm coming to in terms of APP, effort per person. This has to be organized. Many companies, many MNCs go to get the placement, for placement to IIM and IIT and all that, and bring at a very high cost, a lot of employees. If that be the case, the incremental revenue for each addition, nothing wrong in paying very high. You got to calculate the incremental revenue should be more than the incremental cost. So this is an important factor. This one, which is in every company is a problem. Number two, advertisements. Advertisements again is too much of advertising happens. If you look at the Byju's, they went completely went in for advertisement. Not very strict about it because somebody gives it was not a charity that all these VCs gave to them. They're all coming back and asking for it. So running a company with advertisements is another marketing cost has to be taken into account. Number three is the finance cost. Finance cost for all these companies. When you go for investment, improvement, factories and other places, the finance cost, particularly running the organization, is becoming a major problem. And that has to be controlled. So another one is high-priced ERP packages. Most of the MNCs go for SAP and other things. Is a very major, I've seen and you have seen, getting the SAP out of the floor and making it work, it took years. And it has costed every company very, very much. And this has become a fixed cost for very many companies. What is the revenue model for SAP is the fixed cost for hundreds of companies. Take note of it. Now we are into the AI hype. This AI hype, how it is going to help is for the future. You have to be very careful about it. So these 5 items are your fixed costs. The fixed costs should be made variable. Variable in terms of how it varies in terms of the revenue model. If the revenue is there and fixed cost is you are able to give the fixed costs, incremental revenue, then yes. Otherwise, it becomes a real problem for companies. So this has to be controlled. This has to be controlled on a daily basis. That's what I mentioned in terms of CAGR to CDGR. The CAGR is a daily growth rate. Growth rate will be affected if the fixed cost goes on going up. The reason why, what we call as the variable costs do not vary. That is, if you have about 83% as your variable cost at the moment, because the fixed cost of the upstream company, the supplier, they also do the same mistake. Or employee costs and advertisements and finance costs and high priced ERP packages and if they want to go, all those things which the upstream companies do, your supplier, their fixed cost is also very high. With the result, they are not able to pass on to any benefit to you. That is a scope 2 companies. Scope 2 companies suffer not only because of the raw materials input and because of the energy factor. The energy is very high. The cost of consumption is very high. From 83% if you are at the moment to reduce it to 82% is a phenomenal task. It's not easy. This companies must realize is one thing which I have seen with the textile companies, very obvious, and of course in various companies which are doing the manufacturing sector. It's a very big cost that I have to look at. That's why the energy part of it to be reduced, you got to make an investment within the company as for an alternate energy. So that is the return on investment. That return on investment is the individual company's capability to reduce the variable cost and bring about the reduction in your fixed cost and make a profitable operation. This is the one which I like to talk about it to every company, for which CorporateMOM provides you with how to do that, the strategy plan 2030 in every aspect. How to do that variable cost reduction. What is the investment? What we talked about, IPR and other things, and critical metals for energy factors, those things, plus the employee costs. So what I am not even praised. In fact, my work is not in terms of how you are going to price it. What I was talking to my friend from the industry, that is textile industry, make him to do that. You create the ERP and EAPP. I'm not going to do that. I'm only an advisor. You create in a cost which is easy for textile companies or other companies to absorb, and do not price it like as you do the SAP. Don't go for a big VC funding and make a big investment in marketing and try to sell your EPP. EPP is a software product. It will be coming, but it will be coming by the vendors, by the licensed personnel, and make it as less costly as possible, so that the purpose is to put the strategy plan through EPP and action process being talked about in terms of bringing the CAGR to CDGR and the daily growth rate and daily reduction rate. A lot of things about 200 process blocks or that. It has to be reduced in terms of reducing the employee costs, or not exactly the employee cost, the revenue model has to be increased, the revenue model, so that per capita employee cost you are able to get a better revenue. That's what I'm trying to take. So that's about it. We have seen the textile market 2030 going from $165 billion to $350 billion. And GDP, if you look at 2030, is about $5 trillion. Textiles alone will have about nearly 7% of GDP. In order to reach that, track your performance from today, 2024, to Strategy Plan 2030. The company SYS governance ratings are going to be very, very useful. SYS stands for Subject, Object, Self-Governance Ratings. It contains a CREAM ratings. CREAM stands for an acronym for Corporate Governance, Risk Management, Earnings, Accounting Quality, and Management Quality. CorporateMOM is Corporate Management Orbiter Mission. How we prepare and what are the things that is going to be of great use for companies to go forward, reaching the target, individual company. Each company, some may have 20% CAGR, some may have 15, 10, 5, 0. Does not matter. You got to go and get the $350 billion. How each person does, each company does, each and every person does is what CorporateMOM provides you with a very good tool. Take a look. Knowledge database, textile companies, GDDP, GSDP, GDP, GNH 2030. The bottommost of the pyramid, GDP pyramid, GNH pyramid, or companies and multi-number of handlooms. Nearly 43 million people work in the textile industry. A few of them which we have seen, the big companies, they are the lead indicators. They are the ones who are going to get us to $350 billion. But we cannot afford to ignore millions of people who work in the handlooms, which comes possibly in the khadi. I have seen myself how the khadi collected the yarn and make the, industry is a very good industry in India. All over the villages, they make the yarn and come and give it to the khadi industry. It's a big industry. So we got to do that from the bottom to the top. That is the purpose of this knowledge database. When we say knowledge database, what we have today, even big companies, any big company which I have quoted here, do not have anything more than number 3, E for earnings in CREAM report. Only quantitative elements. That is, we take the balance sheet and the P&L account. That is what we project to the public. What is happening inside, companies themselves do not know. Let us be very clear about it. That is the corporate governance, risk management, accounting quality, and management quality. That's why it has to be brought up right from the each and every company. The fiscal and ethical co-responsibility framework. When you say the track of entanglement, subject, object, self, as well as governance, only the object governance is being done. That's what we portray with a balance sheet and P&L. When we are able to do that, there's a corporate sustainability CIM report when we prepare it, including the directors and the CEO and workforce, and as well as the society is being brought. E for earnings take care of this board of directors and CEO and workforce, whereas corporate governance, risk management, accounting quality, and management quality relate to the public. How you do it is what the public would like to know, more than what you are showing in the balance sheet and annual reports. C for corporate governance or for risk management or of profits, the sustainability of efficiency. It definitely will give you the sustainability of profits. Whereas accounting quality and management quality is sustainability of value system within your company. That gives you the sustainability of growth. So sustainability of profits is okay. We get the earnings every year, we make an announcement and going to be 15% or 16% or 10% or 5%. But for growth area, sustainability of growth area, you've got to have the value system. So the subject and self-governance are going to contribute quite a bit. So I'm giving a synopsis of it in this particular page and also in the next about couple of pages. And I'm giving the connection of QR codes. Have a look at it and how you can proceed further to reach $350 billion for the textile companies. E is equal to MC square, the management mantra. E is equal to MC square. The E in the equation stands for energy, M for mass, and C square for the speed of light squared. In the simplest term, what the equation says is that mass and energy have an equivalence. The 3 laws the corporate shall inherit from mass and energy that have an equivalence. Law number 1, energy is liberated matter. Law number 2, matter is energy waiting to happen. Law number 3, antimatter, when it collides with matter, forms a pure energy. Law number 1, energy is liberated matter in the first law, which we show in P&L and balance sheet. Law number 2, matter is energy waiting to happen. It's a second law that may be lying in the raw material stores or finished goods, go down, or incomplete project work in different places, or the towers of Babel strewn all over the world, waiting to be liberated from the present form. That is law number 2 for you. Law number 3 is intangible, is antimatter, is the effort From the individual entrusted with the task of packing, law number 2, the matter where energy is waiting to happen, to law number 1, to be energized as a liberated matter. In this page, I am giving some very interesting posts that will go further on our aim to get the $350 billion for a textile industry. One is, be prepared. Chandogya Upanishad, what it states is about the ecosystem prevailing in industry, commerce and government. As we have seen before, any Tom, Dick and Hindenburg can take any major company to their cleaners, upsetting a major stock market. We are not prepared yet. Be prepared. That's number 1. Number 2, make India number 1. India ranks among the top 5 global exporters. When top 5 means we are only 5. That is 4, 3, 2, 1 to be on the top. Establish global benchmarks as well as governance due diligence for corporate training and knowledge database for GDDP, Gross District Domestic Product, GDH, Gross Domestic Happiness Index Development Model. Number 3, optimize effort, EPP, effort per person. E equal to MC square, the corporate mantra for digital age. Knowledge database, companies, GDDP, GSDP, GDP, GNH 2030. Take a look. Number 4, concepts number 1. It's a pull shift theory of management from ex post facto to ex ante. 3-day workshop. IBCM means an activity based cost management. That's my IPR. Activity has a cost incidence, whereas inactivity a cost consequence. Measure cost consequence now. That's a main theme. Bring CAGR 2030 to CDGR 2024. CARR, that is reduction rate 2030 to CDRR 2024. Track US $350 billion 2030 now with CDGR. By way of sciences of physics, quantum physics and metaphysics, bring in the science of management to streamline the ecosystem. Number 1, you look at it. Aligning to the ecosystem is a big gap. Yeah, we have to work a lot on that. If we do that, 350 billion, we can make $700 billion. 3-day workshop, which I would like to give it to companies. Subject, object, self, as well as governance, due diligence. Bring in your representative from your supply side. Auditor, company secretary, and the consulting firm. Today, big companies without a consulting firm is not a big company. So bring them in also. Let all of them question what I'm trying to project this SOS governance due diligence model for your company.